Hello from Myrtle Beach. Today we are going to take you on a walk down the beach in September and show you what the crowds look like and show you what September is like here at Myrtle Beach. Hi, I'm Carmen. If you're new here, we cover everything Myrtle Beach and the surrounding area. And if you're a return viewer, welcome back. We are so glad to have you. So as you can see, there's quite a few people on the beach. And I want to point out that despite seeing people in the water is actually closed because of Hurricane Lee. So I'm actually shocked to see so many people. Now, Hurricane Lee is nowhere near here. It's up, I think, near the Canadian border at this point, or that's the direction it's heading. But it's causing terrible rip currents. As you can see, it's really rough on the water. And so they've got the double red flags up today, which means no swimming. As you can see, the beach is wide open, but no, you're not supposed to swim. Waiting, I would think, is fine, but we were just over by the boardwalk area and we saw a lifeguard blow the whistle at someone waiting, and there's definitely a lot of people waiting right here. So a lot of people ask us, what's it like in the fall? What are the crowds like? What's the weather like? If you're interested in weather information, I will put a playlist in the description below. It gives you all 4 seasons, so you can pick the season you're interested in. We go into great detail about the weather, the average highs, the water temperature, all of that information. And we even mention any festivals that happen, that kind of thing, so you can plan your trip around that. But today is gorgeous. It's warm, but it's pleasant. The humidity is low. As you can see, it is very windy. I think that's also an effect of Lee. We always have some wind here, but it's extra breezy today. Not dangerously so, just really, really breezy. But we've got all these big hotels. If you're wondering where we are in Myrtle Beach, we are north of the central boardwalk area. Well, we're north of the entire boardwalk. So this is the main strip of Myrtle Beach, right off Ocean Boulevard. So all these hotels over here are on Ocean Boulevard. And so this is where a lot of you would be staying if you came to Myrtle Beach. There's all kinds of places to stay here, but this is sort of the central main area, and that's what we wanted to show since we're talking about crowds. So back to crowds, we get a lot of questions. Do things close down off season? A lot of things open later or shorten their hours this time of the year. There are a few things that close like January, February, but not much. It's mostly rides and amusement parks, that kind of thing. Most things stay open year round here. And like the Skywheel, which is a ride, is open year round. So there's plenty to do here in the off season. The upside is, despite all the people you see, this is actually lower crowds. I know it doesn't look like it, but it is. This is way lower crowds because we're going on 11 a.m. right now. And so this gives you a very good idea of what it's like. Plus, we're close to high tide. I'm gonna have to do a little navigating here, see where I can cross. Maybe right here. I've got tennis shoes on. I get people, why do you wear tennis shoes? Because we usually walk a really long way. I mean, I'm talking miles on the beach, and so I need tennis shoes for that. I can't do flip-flops for miles. But yeah, the crowds are definitely lower this time of the year. You don't have to wait in line as long for things. There's a lot of advantages that if you can come this time of the year, it can be a good time to come, and you won't have to deal with quite as many people, and things are still open. Things to do, fun things to do are still around. The downside to September, I'm going to mention it because a lot of you have been asking me about it. Yes, it is the #1 month in Myrtle Beach historically for hurricanes. It doesn't mean that one will hit on your trip, but my big advice to you is either stick with a major hotel chain brand. So when I say that, I'm not picking these out on purpose. It's just the two that Brian and I usually, so like a Hilton property or a Marriott property. We're not affiliated with any of these. And even with those, you should check the fine print. Or if you're staying at a private hotel, make sure you check their hurricane policy. If you have a mandatory evacuation, or even if it's not mandatory and you just don't feel safe and you want to leave, make sure you check their cancellation policies, or if you need to truncate your trip. Brian and I got burned by that a long time ago. I'm talking like 20 plus years ago, before we had a place here. When we were visiting, there was a mandatory evacuation, so we couldn't have stayed if we wanted to, and the hotel gave us nothing. We lost the money, gave us nothing back. So definitely check that if you are coming during these high probability months. Now, hurricane season runs from the beginning of June through November, so it could happen at any time during that period. It's just that September is historically the highest month for a probability of a hurricane occurring. As many of you know, we just got hit by Idalia, and it was a tropical storm by the time it got here. It was no longer a hurricane. And we have a video of what Ocean Boulevard looked like the day after. That's on our channel if you'd like to take a look. But that was mild. That was super mild. And last year, also in September, it was the last day of September, we had Ian. It's always these I's that are getting us, the I names for the hurricanes. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. But like I said, as long as you check the policy for refunds and that kind of thing, I wouldn't let it stop you from coming, because the weather this time of the year is amazing. The humidity is typically lower, although it can be high, and the temperatures are usually very pleasant, still warm. As you can see from these people, they are not supposed to be swimming but are swimming. It's warm enough to get in the water's still warm, and that's pretty true through mid-October. Once you get to late October, the water temperatures start cooling off, and the outside temperatures, especially at night, start cooling down. But of course that varies every year. But we love the fall. It was always, before we lived here, it was always our favorite time to visit. October, I think, is our favorite month. Is that your favorite month, Brian? October here? Yeah. He says October's his favorite as well, so that was always when we had the most fun here. Like I said, low crowds, or lower, like I said, there's still crowds, but lower crowds. The crowds also depend on where you are in Myrtle Beach. So certain areas are going to be more crowded, like any of the entertainment districts, so the Central Boardwalk area, Broadway at the beach, Barefoot Landing if you're in North Myrtle Beach. Those type of places are going to be more crowded, but if you get a little off the beaten path, it's definitely not going to be crowded, but even those places are going to have a lot less people. Got a bunch of seagulls coming up here. Sorry guys, I'm going to have to walk straight through you. Hey guys. I always see people feeding the seagulls and I'm like, man, they are brave. I'm not afraid of seagulls, I just don't want them, they do things on your head that I don't want. But people like to feed them. We have a lot of great wildlife here for sure. And if you are into wildlife, we definitely recommend the Huntington Beach State Park. They have a low country zoo, and you can see some of that wildlife up close, and it is, low country wildlife, so it's animals that either are indigenous to this area or were, they might not be as active as they used to be, but they used to be. So all kinds of stuff to do here. And a lot of people don't know Huntington Beach State Park is just a little south of Myrtle Beach. It is not far at all. And right across the street from it is Brook Green Garden. And we have videos on both of those, so you can check those out on our channel if you're interested. Here's another one of these. Oh, and also don't let your kids play in these. They are storm drains. They're full of bacteria. They have water that's running off the streets that are dirty, really dirty streets. Don't do it. That's one of my little tips. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to click on your video on your screen right now and click subscribe so you won't miss anything new. Thanks so much for watching. Until our next adventure.